Jealous people around me, I need to change my life. I just turn colder every time I try. What would I do without you, my Georgie? I don't feel that way with anybody.
Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to part 4 of my lace series. This is the last and final part of my lace series. If you haven't already seen the first 3 parts, I am going to be leaving them down in the description box, and I'm going to be leaving one or all of them in the cards up above, right here. Not over here. But in this series, I'm going to be focusing on how I install my wig, but I am going to be mentioning to you how I received this little, what is this called, this little bump at the front of my head. I'm going to be showing you how I sleep in it, and I'm going to be showing you how I remove it at the end of the day, or at the end of the couple of days that I've been wearing my wig. So if you want to see all of that good stuff, please keep on watching. To make this wig, I used 3 bundles of Ashley Marie hair in the lengths 22, 20, and 18 with a 16-inch frontal. For this styling process, you're going to need some edge control. Here I'm using my Gorilla Sports Snot gel, a Boar bristle brush, some sort of wrap, a curling wand, some hairspray, a rat tail comb, bobby pins, a stocking wig cap, Got2b Glue, the black bottle, and the yellow bottle, the Got2b Glued Hairspray. To start off, I'm going to be removing the excess lace on my frontal. So here I'm just sectioning off the ear portion. I used my finger to trace around my ear, and usually I leave a little bit more than I need to, so that way when I go in to cut it, I use my scissors to fill right on top of my ear. Make sure not to cut your ear. So yeah, I go ahead and cut around my ears, and I do that on both sides. I make sure to cut right behind my ear so that way when I go to lay it, it's completely flat. So when I'm cutting my front, I go ahead and do just one quick straight cut, and then I go back in and focus more on adding more detail, more curvature. The lace frontal, as you can see from when I was customizing it, it has its own little curvatures. So I just follow those curvatures, making sure that I'm cutting off all of the excess lace. If I cut off some baby hairs, that's okay. I'm just trying to make sure that the lace is seamless as possible, and I'm leaving the least amount of lace. So when I apply it on my head, you won't be able to see it. Moving on to styling my hair, so I used a 25mm wand I got from Numi. I'll leave it down in the description box if anyone is interested. But to get that little bump on the top of my head, I go ahead and leave 2 sections at the very top of my head. And when I'm curling these sections, I curl them backwards. This is just going to add a little bit of volume at the top of my head, and it's going to help create that little bump at the top of my head. As you can see, the bump is already there, but naturally this bump falls throughout the day. To make sure this bump stays in all day, I go ahead and comb through that little section where the bump is going to be with a rat tail comb. Then I go and take my Aussie Hairspray and I spray that section that I want to stay up. I go ahead and use my rat tail comb to comb the hairspray through that little section. I don't take it all the way through. I'm using my rat tail comb to comb through this section as my hairspray dries. This is just going to mold that section into place, into that little bump we're trying to achieve. If you are styling your hair the same day you are going to wear it, either way you're going to have to comb through your hair until this hairspray dries. It takes about a minute or so. This hairspray dries fairly quickly, but if you don't let the hairspray dry completely, it's not going to hold the bump. But for me personally, I like to style my hair the night before, so I just go ahead and bobby pin it in place. Moving on to actually installing my hair, I'm going to make sure that my edges are up and out of the way because I don't want there to be any yanking and pulling when I apply my wig. Also make sure that your hair is braided down in some sort of pattern. Here I'm using my Gorilla Sports Snot, and I'm just applying that all over my edges and combing it backwards. Then I'm going to wrap it and wait about 5, maybe 7 minutes while it dries in place. After about 5 to 7 minutes, my girl's knot is dry and it's time to move on to applying our balding cap. Here I'm just taking my Got2b glue in the yellow bottle, and I'm applying that right in front of my hairline because, again, we want the least amount of tension on our edges as possible. So here I'm just taking a medium to thick layer. I don't like putting on too much because then it takes forever to dry, but then I don't like putting on a little bit because then my balding cap won't hold. So I just go ahead and apply that all over my hairline, and then I take my Got2b hairspray and I go ahead and spray right on top of it, making sure that the glue and the hairspray are nicely combined. And I don't like using a blow dryer because I feel that's like just being extra. I just go ahead and fan it. Again, this only takes about a minute to get a little bit tacky. I just find something around me that I can fan with, and usually this takes about a minute or so just to get tacky. Then I go ahead and apply my balding cap, and once I apply my balding cap, I go ahead and press in the glue and mesh and the balding cap together. Usually this takes about 10-15 minutes to dry on its own. So in those 10-15 minutes, I go ahead and do my makeup, do my eyebrows, my eye makeup. This is what it looks like before, and then this is what it looks like after it has dried. Once it's dry, we're gonna go ahead and cut off the excess cap. Usually it's really easy to tell what you need to cut off because it's the part that's lifting and it's the part that's not stuck down. You'll know it's dry when one, it's not wet to the touch, and it's a little bit hard to the touch. So I just go ahead and cut around my hairline. Once I get to my ears, I don't like cutting the balding cap all the way around to the back of my head because I don't see a point. I want my hair to be inside the cap, so I just go ahead and tuck the excess behind my ears. I don't cut it off because, one, it's really uncomfortable when it starts lifting, and I don't like it. So as you can see, there's spots on my cap that are lighter than the parts that are glued down. That's because these parts aren't glued down. So I just go ahead and take my Got2b glue in the black bottle, and I apply the tiniest amount onto those spots because if I go in with a little bit too much product, then my cap will start lifting. So I just go ahead and go around the perimeter of my cap, making sure I'm getting all those little bits and pieces to the best of my ability. Now, they won't be glued down 100%, but I just try to do my best. This is just to make sure that you won't be able to see those lighter spots when you apply your lace frontal. So moving on, we're going to be applying foundation on the spots. I take foundation on the back of my hand and apply it directly onto my frontal in dotting motions. And then I go ahead and take a brush. You can use a sponge to blend it in. This is just tinting my cap into the color of my skin, and I do apply quite a bit because I want to make sure that this foundation and my skin are the same color, and you won't be able to see the cap underneath my lace frontal. And I also make sure that before I apply my wig that this foundation is dry so it won't transfer onto my frontal. So moving on, we're just going to be using the same things we used when we applied our cap. I'm using the Got2b Glued in the yellow bottle, and I'm just going to be applying that where the line of demarcation is, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my Got2b Glue hairspray. And this part I apply a very, very thin layer, and again, because it is a thin layer, it's not going to take long to dry, to get tacky. It just takes about 30 seconds, and then I go ahead and put my wig right on top of it. To place my wig, I just place it right on top of that cap, that line of demarcation. I don't like to apply it too far forward because then it'll just make my forehead look weird. And there is going to be a little bit of excess glue or gel at the front of your head because you didn't apply it further upward. So I just take a makeup wipe or a wet washcloth or something, and I just wipe away the excess glue. This is what my curls are looking like. If you guys want me to do a tutorial on how I curl my hair, I can definitely do that, but it's actually quite simple. So moving on to how I sleep in my wig, I don't like to be extra. I just do the simplest thing. I take it, wrap my hair or my wig in the back of my head, twist it up into a tiny little, I don't know, a long knot. And I just go ahead, apply my bonnet on top of it, and I go to sleep. I don't do any extra. I don't sleep like I'm fighting demons. So this bonnet stays on the whole night. And then in the morning, I just take it down, and my wig is all fine and dandy. So to remove my lace frontal, as you can see, it's already lifting because it's been a couple days. I simply just take some water and I rub it in to my frontal. I don't do any tagging or pulling. I just spray water directly onto my frontal and I just rub it in tiny little circular motions, and this is just going to lift up the lace frontal. Since it was the weekend, I had to do this, but usually if I'm doing this method, this application method during the week, I work out almost every day. So usually this wig just slips right off after I come home from the gym. But since it was the weekend, I have to do this. So I just take water, rub it in tiny little circular motions, and the frontal lifts quite easily. And I just go ahead and take a t-shirt, an old t-shirt or something, and I just wipe away at the excess glue on my edges. I really hope you guys enjoy this series and learn something. If you have any further questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. And for the love of makeup and all things girly, please subscribe and stay tuned for my next video. Bye guys!